Hi, I'm Sarah Barnes here with Crafty Creatures, and today we're making our lilac painting. We're going to need our canvas panel and our paintbrushes, a couple of Q-tips, our paints. We're just going to use a couple colors today. And we'll need something to wash our brushes in. Now I'm using an extra palette to do some color mixing in. You can also use the paper plates we send you. So first we're going to take one of our smaller brushes and we're going to scoop up a fair amount of white, and then we're going to mix in a little bit of blue, and we're just going to stir that together super well. We want to make a nice light blue, not too light, kind of like a nice sky color. So you may need a fair amount of white and a fair amount of blue to be able to mix this color, just because we need to have enough to cover our whole canvas. And once you have that color, we can start painting. Now I switched to my big brush after using up whatever was on my little mixing brush, and then I painted in this entire canvas with this color. And once we paint it all in, we need to set it aside to dry for a little bit, because it's a lot easier to do our next steps on a dry canvas than it is on a wet canvas. Once our canvas is dried, it's time to do our next step. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a smaller brush again. We're just going to scoop up some green and some white, kind of around equal amounts, to make a nice light green. Then we're going to use our little brush and some brown paint to make a couple of lines. These are going to be the branches for our lilacs. Now these just need to be fairly curvy lines. They don't need to have very much coming off the sides, just maybe one or two spots have a little branch coming off. And then we're going to use that light green and we're going to start painting nice wide leaves with a nice point. Think like a nice teardrop shape, but with a little curve on it. Lilac leaves are very rounded, but then they go into this nice sharp point at the end. So we want to mimic that shape the best we can. So you want to add a couple on each side and near the top, near the bottom. You want to make some leaves bigger, some leaves smaller. On this taller branch here that's more closer to the center, I'm giving it bigger leaves so that it looks like it is a bit closer to us. And then on my other two, I'm doing smaller leaves so that it looks a little further away from us. You can also add some leaves coming off the bottom corner and sides of the canvas. This looks like there's more of the lilac bush that we're not seeing, like we're kind of seeing a zoomed in view, and then there's leaves coming off of the sides of our picture here. So that way we kind of see that, okay, yeah, this plant continues on beyond our picture that we can see. Next we're going to work on doing our lilacs. So first we're going to start with just straight purple. We're going to dip the end of the Q-tip in, and then near the top of the branches we're going to add a flower, and we're going to do this by dabbing our purple Q-tip a lot, and we're going to make a kind of cone shape. So it's going to have a round bottom, and then it's going to kind of go in almost like a long skinny triangle. Again, we're trying to mimic the shape of real lilacs, which are very much this kind of shape. Now near the middle of these cones, we want the dots to be very close together, but along the edges we want to give them, a little bit of gap so we can kind of see into the shape of the flower a little bit. want about 2 or 3. 3 is more the ideal number. 2 just seems just too few. You can also add 1 or 2 kind of small ones coming off the sides. But keep those ones a bit smaller and maybe have them a bit curved because they tend to curve up towards the sun. I did another little one down here. But as long as you have 3, that's kind of the minimum. If you want to add a few more, you can. So next we're going to mix some more color. So we're going to take some purple. And we're going to add in a bit of blue. Now you want to add enough purple that it's still a very purple color. Too much blue, it's going to look really blue. That's why mine looked really blue here, so I had to add some more purple. So start with just little bits of blue and mix till you get a darker shade of purple. And then we're going to use a clean end of a Q-tip and we're going to add this darker purple dots just along one side of each of the cones, so a little bit along the bottom, and then we're going to go up the sides and we're going to keep it all on the same side. So I'm doing all of mine kind of on this left hand side, kind of a little bit more to the top. This is because we're adding a bit of shadow to our flowers, and our shadow is all going to be kind of very consistent. I know it's a little hard to see, my paint here is very wet, so my camera is picking up all that shiny wet paint, which you can see, especially down here in the corner in this one. You can see the difference in the color and how that kind of adds a bit of shading to it. And then for our next shade we're going to make a light purple, so we're going to add some white to our purple. Again, start with little bits till you get a shade you're happy with. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do it on the opposite side to our shadow. We're going to add less dots. This way it just looks like the sun's just catching some of our flowers here. And we still want to be able to see some of our regular purple underneath. We want to kind of stay within the shape of our cones here. You want to kind of taper them out as you get to the middle. You have less near the middle of the flower and more along just the one edge. It just helps it to look a little bit more realistic. So for a bonus, you can make an even darker shade of purple. I added a bit more blue and a touch of red, just because I wanted my shadows to be a bit darker. This is very much a very fun color mixing painting, so we can kind of play around with the different shades. And I added just a few of these much darker dots, just in a couple spots along the flowers. I didn't go too crazy with it. These paintings will have to have a fair amount of time to dry, because doing this dip and dab method means there's a lot of paint on there, so you want to let them dry fully before touching it. Thanks for painting with me today, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.